Hey, JG, we are back live. More to talk about, more things going on this week. Got a meeting coming up tomorrow. Eastern Canada is the focus. However, REIN members, you can attend wherever you are. But tomorrow night is the night that we got going on, and that's what we want to talk about.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing some special segments, Patrick, since the passing of the laws around accessory dwelling units or coach homes or laneway homes or however you want to look at it, which, by the way, that's kind of wrapped up in a much bigger, with many more offshoots, if you will. So I'm going to be covering that segment. People have been hearing me talk a lot about coach homes in the last 6-8 months. And there's a lot of confusion around kind of where can you do a coach home? What are the bylaws? All the various things. I'm going to cover a big section of that as much as I possibly can and really give people a really clear picture as to exactly how they can invest within their own portfolio and maximize their cash flow without having to buy new properties, by reinvesting in their existing portfolio. And we'll break down, number one, the provincial kind of law that was passed in Ontario, what that means to municipalities now. We're going to talk about the financial component of this. We're going to talk about the building component of this. We're going to talk about the various setbacks, all that kind of stuff. Really going to get into the nitty gritty, Patrick, which is, where I like to live.
Well, it's interesting about all of this, right? Because you know how I love politics, but at the end of the day, we know that the government's not going to fix the problem. Having said that, they're doing what they're doing, and what that does for us as investors is gives us opportunities to actually start to move forward. Now, will all of this fix a problem? No, but that's an aside. This is an opportunity for investors to look at existing portfolios or even look at how they might buy their next property with consideration for that particular additional dwelling. So this is an opportunity that, is first time it's really presented itself in this way. We've wrapped the thought process even around raising capital. So for those of you who might be in a story going, I can't do it, I don't have the money, we're also going to be sharing some stuff around raising capital. I'm going to be doing an economic update, kind of an overview of what's going on. And, we got a great meeting lined up. And I think this is such a great topic, JG. Of course, you're in the trenches every day working it and seeing where the opportunities actually exist for investors / REIN members. So make sure you're coming out to the meeting. You're going to get a text. You're going to get notified. Make sure you get registered and make sure you show up.
Yeah. And, Patrick, you talked about something interesting there about, politicians, the government won't fix the problem. I agree with you 100%. Because we should never rely on the government to fix any problem. I believe entrepreneurship fixes problems, not governments. I think governments mostly cause problems. But anyways, that's an aside. Point is this, though, is of all the things the government's ever tried, this is the one thing where they're getting out of the way, not more in the way. And that's rare, Patrick. That's very rare for a government to finally acknowledge, listen, we got to get out of the way if we're going to fix this problem. And a big part of this legislation that came into place in Ontario, and now, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're in BC, it's happening there. It's happening in Alberta. It's going to ripple. And Patrick, you and I talked about this a year ago when this went through in Ontario. It actually went through November 28th, 2022. It's been just about a year. This is starting to ripple out in every single province, and it will end up being, across the country. And for the first time ever, in my opinion, the governments are getting out of the way. So we are going to make a dent on this problem. Is it going to solve the problem? Probably not. But it is an amazing, incredible opportunity for real estate investors to deploy their capital into their own portfolio. That is without a doubt.
Well, it's also interesting too, JG, is of course we just came from a live event in Calgary. Remember, great energy, and and it was a really great time to see the difference in between the provinces of what's going on. Folks, I got to say that having been through these cycles over many years and through recessions and all of the things that go on in this kind of economic shifting that's happening today, a lot of people are just really afraid. They're sitting on the sidelines. And if you're that individual who's just afraid, sitting on the sidelines, all I can do is this: encourage you to show up at the meetings, at least listen in and start to stay informed. And not that you start to stay, but stay informed. Continue to kind of expand your thought process of what's going on. JG, you're going to get into the minutia of these additional dwelling units. You're going to talk about all of the bylaws and things that are happening in that Ontario region. And, within that, folks, you may see some opportunities with your existing units to actually improve cash flow, improve value. And then, this economic storm, if you will, this too shall pass. You don't need to totally sit out the storm. If nothing else, sit in your house, look out the window and watch the storm. That's up to you, but stay informed about what's really going on. I think that's critical to any of this for real estate investors who are going to eventually want to move forward, JG.
Well, here's the thing. You talk about a storm, Patrick, and if you're inside your house and you're looking outside and there's a storm and nobody's out there, once the storm passes, the first one that's out there has essentially the lay of the land, right? There's nobody else out there. They're out there by themselves, and they're picking up all the opportunities that the storm has created, and that's really what it's like right now for a lot of investors that are not only ahead of the curve, but investors that have the courage. And we're going to talk more about this, Patrick, I think in the next 6 months, because right now it takes more courage than ever to be an investor. And if you have that courage, you're going to be handsomely rewarded in 1, 3, 5 years from now. But it is in these kinds of moments where investors make the decisions that they end up cherishing for a lifetime, because it's really, really, really tough right now. And this is exactly 2 years, Patrick, 2 years since you and I were on live streams like this, saying to people, guys, you have got to be careful. It's crazy out there. It is crazy high, and people were geniuses and everybody was doing no wrong. Now we're essentially on the opposite side of that spectrum, which is, it seems nobody can do no right. No investor seems to be getting it right. And that's just because of the environment. It's tough. But like you said, this too shall pass. And the decisions investors make today, they will cherish forever if they make the right decisions today. The courageous ones, not necessarily the ones they're most comfortable with. It's the courageous decisions they got to make.
You got to do it. And folks, the best way to embrace all of those opportunities, show up for the REIN meeting tomorrow night. And hold on, what time is the meeting Eastern time tomorrow? 7?
I believe, let me just check, but I believe it's usually 6:30 Eastern time.
Okay, 6:30 Eastern time. Either way, you're going to get a text, folks. We're going to let you know. So make sure you show up, stay engaged, stay up to date with what's going on in the world. We're going to look forward to seeing you there. Make sure you get your questions answered. And JG, thanks for doing this.
See you tomorrow, folks.